by our lovely sponsors, Logitech G, Unite students, and of course, Twitch students. My name is Novi Kane, and I'm joined by the brilliant Zach. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, yeah, and we've got some good games on today, but let's just start with a little bit of general information about the tournament. Of course, people joining new might not know exactly what's going on, so I think it's a good time just to brush over what we've got. We've got the top 12 teams in the University League at the moment, and sort of in a group stage. So it's the Varsity League, so they're all competing against one another where every single round counts. Best of ones all across the board today. And we've got some really good games coming up. Of course, 3 best of 1 games this week. Next week, we'll be moving into another 3 best of 1s for the next 5 weeks. And we'll get to know everybody's play styles throughout these 5 weeks. They'll all get to know each other. And we should see tactics start to spring up, especially counter plays coming along as we move through the weeks.
Fantastic. But this week, we have 3 games for you, of course, 3 best of 1s. We have Back 6 versus Kiel Krakens. We have Swansea Storm White versus BU and a Half Men. And of course, Bath A versus Half Natty Head Tappers. Great name. But our first game today, Back 6 versus Kiel Krakens. Why don't you give us a lowdown of these 2 teams?
Yeah, so Back 6, Queen's University Belfast against the Kiel Krakens. Of course, Kiel Krakens weren't actually supposed to be in this Varsity League for the entire 5 weeks. They were supposed to be in the division below at the moment. So in that open league and competing to try and get into the open spring tournament. But instead, they've had a bit of a golden ticket. Loughborough dropped out. So a team with everything to prove at the moment. Nothing really in their favour. They didn't do that well last season. Of course, they did manage to finish 5th in the group below, but nothing special, not quite as good as teams like UWE Sea Stags, for example, who won the competition in the winter and come into this season with a really strong look in them. But yeah, I think they're 2 solid teams, both between levels 8 and 9 on Face It, pushing into level 10. So we should see some really good plays coming out for them. And I think Sea Stags, Krakens rather, will have come up with some tactics in the off season.
Yeah, both sea creatures. So you're forgiven on that one. Of course, as you said, Kiel Kraken, something to prove. Essentially, it's almost like they've been gifted this opportunity and it's up to them to see if they can seize it and then hold on to it. But the inverse, if they do come out victorious, what does that say to any of the teams that they might beat? How must Back 6 feel if they do fall to the Kiel Krakens? It's got to be kind of a... It's kind of mentally, what a way to start the season, because it can either lift Kiel Krakens up or it can bring another team down. With these 2 teams, as you said, they're both, face it level 8, 9, 10, sort of earing up to that upper echelon. What do you think maps-wise would we be expecting from these 2 sides? What do you think would... first game of the season, probably not going to see anything too fancy. What would you expect?
Honestly, I think usually in these early stages, we tend to sort of see maps that bridge the line between those tactical maps, those pure tactics maps like, your nukes or your Vertigos, for example. I guess Vertigo's not the best example, but you then sort of peel it back a bit. They're not quite Dust 2, but they're somewhere in between. You're looking at Overpass, Mirage, things like that, where you can have those set smokes and you can have some of those set plays that are a little bit more tactical, but you're not going to see a full chess game coming out from these teams, I don't believe.
I remember in the days of old, back when Cash was in the rotation, if any team was a specifically strategy-heavy style team, they would just ban out Inferno, Mirage, Cash, and enforce whatever team was on the left. And it usually was Overpass, because of course Overpass can be quite frag-heavy, with huge like B rushes and A executes and things like that, but there's a huge amount of strategy involved. I would be super excited to see an Overpass. That's when you see a team is very, very evident if the team has practiced that map or it's because they've run out of maps in their map pool and they have nothing left to play.
Yeah, there's some teams that made a living off of Overpass, especially in seasons of old. I remember there were certain teams, especially, one that I was on, Hull, that played on Overpass almost every week, and it was a map that allowed somebody in those toilets to really frag out. They could play around the toilets, they could push into mid and try and get those kills into connector, onto long. There's so many angles that you can play on there that if you're very good at tapping or you have that incredible AWP style of play, you can really get away with a lot of kills. And the rest of the team can just be built around that solo player. So it's not like it's the most tactical, but sometimes you see teams, especially at those higher levels, maybe that Belfast might be aspiring to be, they can counter that sort of play with heavy smoke plays or very good Molotov plays onto the B site, for example. If you're stacking 4 on there, it's something that can't be stopped sometimes when you don't have any tactics. It's just, a rain of Molotovs has come in. We can't hold the site anymore.
And speaking of maps, which everyone should know if they're playing in this tournament, of course, things like Inferno and Mirage. Do you think so at this level, with the fact that both teams are quite evenly matched, Inferno and Mirage, because they're such defaults, such staples of the Counter-Strike map pool of these teams, do you think that if we do go to them, will it be because it's a comfort pick, it's something that they know how to play, or is it something maybe they've prepared something a little bit spicy? We've got some slightly different iterations on Mirage of how we want to play the CT defense, or we've got some I don't know, apartment rushes. I don't know. I want to see something fantastic. I've seen those maps to death, but if we see them, do you think there'll be? How much preparation do you think they'll have so far?
I think that's one of the maps that, or both of those maps are maps maybe that they aren't going to be super prepared on. I think Inferno's one that, you usually hope that someone has something really out the box. Of course, Astralis had those Molotovs. I mean, they're old news now, but back in the day, those Molotovs onto Banana, they were crushing for a lot of those pro teams that didn't know them. So it is a map that does, has proof that there's still a lot of theory craft on. The nade that was thrown by I forgot his name now. Doja, sorry, into the pit. That's something that no one saw coming because it was so revolutionary at the time, 2 years back. And it's a map that still can have innovation on. There's smokes that people don't know, and there's lineups on that map that I think people haven't found yet. So it's something that maybe there's going to be a chance of, but knowing some of the performances that they put in last winter, especially on Train, for example, I remember very well Krakens played Manchester on Train, and there was a little bit of a tactical stalemate, I would say, in that both teams were severely underprepared. So maybe we won't see that out of these teams. Belfast are an unknown to me, so they could have that sort of play, but Krakens, unless they've done a lot of play in the off-season, I doubt we're going to see something revolutionary coming out for them on those more frag-heavy maps.
And like you said, these maps still continue to evolve. And of course, utility more than ever, we say they're frag heavy maps, but the teams which understand the utility usage, understand the use of mollies around Banana and top Banana, as well as the executes onto the site, they're the teams who will walk over. You can bridge that fragging disparity between teams if you understand that. And it's becoming the norm that you expect players not only to have that fragging ability, but also to have that utility knowledge. So it'd be really interesting if, as we see, I've been around in the university scene for about 4 years now, and the skill level continues to amaze me as it rises and rises and rises, gets more competitive. So I'm going to be ecstatic if I see some good utility play and some good utility usage. I will also be very critical if I don't. So it'll go both ways. Hopefully we should be getting to games soon, and we'll find out what map is. We're just theorizing about what we might see. But of course, the last one is Mirage is the other one that we sort of like throw around in the mix. Maybe Dust 2, but Mirage is, UK Counter-Strike at its best. Anything, do you think, Mirage star-wise in comparison to Overpass and Inferno, what would you say is the key to victory on a map like that?
Well, one of the things about Mirage that's quite different from the other maps is that the B site is much harder to push onto compared to your overpasses or your Infernos. Inferno, you can talk about the B site being hard to take, but Top Banana is relatively easy most of the time. And now actually we get the map coming out. It is actually Inferno.
There we go.
So we might see these Molotov plays coming out. So enough theorizing about Mirage. We've got Inferno on the horizon. There's no point talking about it anymore. We know what map we've got, and I think we're going to be in for a good one tonight.
Yeah, screw Mirage is going to be an Inferno, and hopefully it will deliver. I mean, as you said, these teams are quite evenly matched skill-wise. So it'll be really up to either the strategy or some individual players just stepping up above what we would expect from them based on, their value on paper. That's the difference. If you've got two teams evenly stacked and you say their elo is both, I don't know, whatever amount, it's whoever can play above that point, who can push beyond what they're worth on paper. And I think that's what we'll see the difference. Of course, Kill Krakens have a lot to prove. But then on the flip side, they haven't qualified. They've not been gifted, but it kind of gifted the spot. You could also say that the underdogs, they've kind of got the pressure off them. They're expected, in theory, to be the underdog in every single matchup against every single other team. And, underdogs tend to fight very, very hard because the pressure's off. Everyone is expecting them to lose. So I'll be interested to see if that sort of mentality comes out. And likewise, no one wants to lose to an underdog, especially if, we're pegging a team to win. So it should be super, super interesting. We should be getting to the game soon. I will see if we can get an update. I imagine we'll be going very, very quickly into the game as soon as the players are loaded up into the server. It's the default. It's always waiting for the players in the server, isn't it? But of course, Inferno. Side choice. Would you say Inferno side choice matters too much? I always see some teams, they always say they prefer something, but the teams who are very, I'd say, confident in their aim ability, they almost, if they lose the knife and they go into T side or whatever, they don't care. It's almost better because of the one shot of the AK-47. It's almost like it feeds their ego, for lack of a better term, and that momentum just carries on through once they hit the CT. I've seen many a team who, they're like, oh, it's fine starting a weaker side, and they get the ball rolling, get to CT, and it's just decimation. So do you think the knife round matters too much on a map like Inferno, or would you say it's mentally wise, it's quite important?
I'd say Inferno is one of the more balanced maps in the pool for sure. I'd say that at this sort of level, when we're not talking about the professional scene, it's the kind of thing that can go either way. The CTs can do a little bit better. I'd say probably a little bit T-sided, honestly, maybe going a little bit against the grain that most people think. But I'd say that sort of when you're looking around, the early stages of this tournament, you're looking at most maps being T-sided rather than CT-sided. There's exceptions to the rule. Obviously, Nuke, I think, is one of them. But most of them will default to the T side. Krakens have the advantage in that way as well because they might be underprepared, Belfast. They might not be ready for Krakens to have maybe that tactical edge. And so if Belfast do look at the map and say, hey, we want to go on the T side. We think we can beat them on this side. And then Kraken, come out with a Molotov play down Banana, or they come out with some interesting aggression in apartments, is something that often catches teams by surprise, especially when they end up focusing on Banana far too much. They end up losing that side of the map. They end up tilting a little bit. And then, Krakens might come out the better side in that exchange.
And we'll have to see if that's the case, which side will come out on top. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our first game of the spring split. Back six versus the Kill Krakens, and we are quickly jumping into this one. It seems they're fairly uncontested going into the site. There is gunshots going back and forth. It's a trade 1-for-1, but quickly bomb is being planted, and it looks like Kiel is a little bit lost for words. He is trying to find the heads. Monk is going to be pushing around into construction. They're going to try and find a flank either side. It should be done and over. There we go. That's the round. Kill Krakens have, well, I say have. They are defusing a bomb. They will get first round on the board, but not in the most convincing style. Back six almost just walked straight in.
Well, I think maybe that's a sight into the tactical edge that the Krakens have. They've maybe done a little bit of preparation on Belfast. They know that back six are going to just push into the site nice and early on. They just give it up. They play passive. They know that he's not looking at the CT smoke, and out Monk goes and starts mopping up the kills. It's honestly quite well played from Krakens. They, of course, allow back six to pull out that buy into the next round, but they've got the utility. They've got the B stack, and they're ready for a push coming out from back six in this round.
Of course, the bomb plant allows back six to get that weaponry. Because usually on Inferno, I see a lot of teams leaning towards the SMG, lots of utility flashes just to push their way through, gain that map control. But they've opted more for rifles and longer range weapons, but lacking quite heavily in utility. Scarlet Chi has been able to push all the way over. Nico sort of scouting it out alongside Aspect, but they've lost this map control, and now they have to respect the fact that a CT player can push all the way out. Taking this sort of off angle above on the wall. And I might have a go with the scout. It's not going to be the case, and they're going to slow push up into him. There's the swing out. 1-2, no! Replied by Nico. Monk is going to try and hold this. Has to back off. We'll see what the reaction is from the T side with 40 seconds left into the round. But things are slowed down.
The one thing Kraken's had going for them is that they had that utility early on, but a lot of it wasted, and Scarlet Chi had a couple of nades on him, died. And now back six actually have the advantage as they push in towards this site. Maybe not the utility advantage, but the weaponry for sure.
As they make their execute on, they'll hear the footsteps stomping around. There is a player in pit that they can't quite get through. Sake gets instantly just decimated. Konza comes out as well. Trill, and it's all up to Monk left in a 1 versus 4. Bombs can be planted, and despite the lack of utility, they've made it work. And Kill Kraken's looking a little bit worse for wear. Monk's going to have to back off here. He's got a diffuse kit, armor, and that MP9. All things that you want to carry on to the next round. There's no AKs available. Nico takes him down. That'll be 1-1 back six. Very convincing. Again, getting onto the site and executing in a very, very convincing way.
And a bit of a mistake as well for Krakens. They know that back six can pull out that utility. They give up the bomb early on, and after all the compliments about the incredible tactical play that they came out with on the first round to let the bomb down, it seems like they forgot that back six could buy up into the next round. They throw the utility early on to stop it, and then sort of just give up the controls slowly. It plays right into back six's hands, and then they managed to get, a lot of kills going into that round, and then they annihilate on the A site because Krakens have no control of any of the A site whatsoever. No apps control, no control on the site, and they lose the round.
Back six, again, taking quite a measured approach. They're sort of scouting it out. Again, they don't like to get top banana control. Scarlet Chi is just going to be waiting top banana. I don't think there is Molotovs to push him out if they realize it. Safe gets Drill. He's just going to be waiting here. That's one. Goes for the second. Aspect will trade him out quickly. But the advantage actually goes over to the Krakens, despite the lack of weaponry. With 45 seconds left, and we're seeing an execute come out.
And he really shouldn't be getting that kill on the car there. I mean, they have Molotovs, they have the utility to pull him out, but an execute coming on here for back six. All three players moving up, and the smoke on CT. Nothing that they can do about it. Yuki alone on the site with the USP and loses his head in the exchange. Bomb going to go down, and a 3 versus 3 favoring back six now with the utility. Oh, sorry, 3 versus 2 even. But the utility favored on the back six side. They have the weaponry as well, and as long as they play this one slow, they should win it out.
Okay, takes down Larry. Konza is going to try his darndest to try and hold on to this position, but he's forced into this corner. He's going to have to step out. Monk takes him down. Already finding, I think that was a no-scope through the smoke. Killwood to sort of begin that retake process. That was just fantastic stuff to see. And Kill Krakens, they found the advantage, switched up their playstyle slightly, and back six were not respecting the map control that the CTs had already gathered.
A little bit unexpected, if I'm being honest. Even though back six did have the advantage, it's really a back and forth game at the moment. Kraken's winning rounds that they shouldn't be. Back six doing the same in the other way. And now the weaponry better on back six, even though they lost the round. We're seeing some M4s coming out from the Krakens, but Famas, Galil. Meanwhile, 2 Galils on the back six side, but the rest with that one-shot potential on the AKs. And it should cause for an interesting round, especially as back six are pushing in aggressive towards A. They know that the Krakens do just back off early on, and smoke coming down as well to block off the long player.
Now, what answer does back six have? As you said, superior weaponry, but again, light in utility, and it's a fundamental of Counter-Strike. CTs, when you win a round, you want to win the round hard. Keep as much of the economy in play as possible. Otherwise, you're forced in a position like this, where you have Galils and Famasa. You do not want them, and that's what happens when you walk into AK's. Gonza opens things up. Monk, again, on the flank. They never seem to be checking wherever he comes from. Depends if he's going to social mark. AK is just going to be waiting here, and Pit, he finds one. He's looking for the second, but no double kills today. It's 2 versus 2. Monk's going to step out. His position revealed, trying to tap away at the position, the player in the position, and Pit. Scarlet Chi is going to be flanking around as well. Smoke goes out, the little utility they have left, but there's so many angles they have to check. He's going to step out. Monk finds one. Larry is down. It's all up to Trill with that AK-47. Monk is incredibly low. Is he going to try and sneak the defuse? No way. I think he can go for that flash coming out. He's going to dodge it. Trill is going to step out anytime soon. Playing this to perfection, trying to force Monk out. And there we do. That's how we do it. Trill, nicely done.
Good exchange on the site, and you spoke about the utility being low on the Belfast side, but Kiel had just as little in that exchange and no information on the site whatsoever. Back six realize now that they can push onto the site, they can throw these nades, and Krakens are just going to loosen that pressure. They're going to rotate a player over, they're going to back off, and nothing's going to come of it. And it's a really good way to get information out of the hands of the Krakens early on, and then hold an angle sometimes, back off sometimes, and it's just going to confuse them. They won't know what's going on, and it doesn't work out in the Krakens' favor. Utility's important, fragging potential's important, but information is the biggest of them all. And the Krakens just don't have any of it at the moment in the round. Back six forcing them away.
Absolutely, and back six, this is what I like to see in a team that is identified very early on that there's a full eco. I think it's almost a mistake from Kiel Krakens to try and peek second mid that early on and reveal what your position is. As you said, information is the most important thing of all. They know exactly what you have. They can play incredibly calm and calculated, ensure that they lose no one to the CTs, and you're going to be left with absolutely nothing. And it is basically a free round for back six.
And Yuki yet to frag in this game as well. That's got to be something weighing on his mind at the moment. Norton 5 pushing for James Bond. I don't like to call out individual players, but it's something that could mentally weigh on him, especially as we've seen in the past. Krakens have had a little bit of round deficit disadvantage as the rounds have gone on. They've forgotten about how to play as a team. They've lost their individual confidence, and they end up losing round after round after round. So a player like that really does need to get some frags in the game to bring him to life and end up with a sort of tumbleweed effect, running forward and getting kill after kill after kill after this. But another eco coming out from the Krakens, and the nade's not going to do much. Nico ready for it as well, and spraying them down in mid. 2 of them losing their lives, but getting Larry in the process, and now a headshot on Konza, but Monk shouldn't get anything done. Just got the scout in his hands and does unfortunately lose his life. No armor, so just shot in the body and falls to the ground. 4-2 to the back six, and not really what you wouldn't be not expecting this at this point. Back six have been the better side as we've gone on, especially they've been the better side in the tournament as a whole, but Kraken still have a chance, of course. Only 2 rounds, a 2-round deficit, only 6 rounds in as well, so good utility coming out, good weaponry, and AWP as well on Monk, and no AWP in the T side at all.
We'll have to see if he can utilize that to its maximum effectiveness. I think Kiel Krakens definitely had a better idea there of, you've got inferior weaponry. Why would we split up and play normally? Let's play together. It's a classic, throw all your grenades down mid and hope something sticks. But at least they're pushing and they're overwhelming the T side to get something going. And I think the previous round was almost a gift, and that one they played a lot better. Still, this is where it counts. Gun round versus gun round. And utility, both sides, you can see how much time is sort of wasted. Where both sides, it's a war of attrition and how much they can draw out. But Gnome Child, you got gnomed, Larry, takes him down. And that's the advantage over to Kiel Krakens. Sake is in this of like boosted position, but Nico's having none of it. Double kill coming out his way, and it's all up to the gnome, the child, the prodigy is left on balcony. He gets one, he swings for the second, tries to go for the third, but it's not enough. They're left in a 2 versus 2. 30 seconds are left on the clock. Scarlet Chi is going to throw a bomb to try and deny some kind of bomb pump, but it's not going to be enough. Spraying through the smoke. You're just waiting for Monk to try and get round, but of course, AWP, not the best weaponry in this situation, unless Aspect is going to recklessly peek like that. So close, Monk's just not able to find the shot. The reaction speed's not quite there. Time is ticking and it's running down. Scarlet Chi is trying to find something, but back six is not etching out the way. Here we go, trying to step up. Nico getting tagged down to 22 HP, getting taken off him. Scarlet Chi just stepping out into the open. Nico's trying to survive as long as possible. I don't think there's enough time to defuse the bomb. That was madness.
And I don't know why Vice 6 were giving them so many chances, peeking up from Graveyard, peeking from short. I mean, on site they're giving about 4 opportunities to the up to take off his head, and luckily they get away with it, but really dangerous play from the back 6, complete disrespect to the Kiel Krakens as well in that whole exchange. Ended up getting a little bit manic and losing far more weaponry than they needed to, but they do at least have an AWP coming out for Konza this round, and should be a little bit more interesting. Of course, taking early banana control as well from the Kiel Krakens. Not something that they did last round. They're throwing it in intermittently. So it might catch the back 6 a little bit unaware, but on the other side of the map, Pinhead Larry taking the head off of Yuki. And Yuki having a horrific game. 0-1 and 8. I spoke about it before, but it's not got any better for him, has it?
Not at all. And, you know, maybe this is the time when the team can take a timeout or something like that and get into their heads. I mean, that last round was just all over the place, but obviously back six's confidence is coming out in spades. You know, I was expecting just to play time, play passively, but nope, they're just going to swing out just as I thought the round was done. Sake's just going to spray through the smoke. Nico gets decapitated. Buy Sake a drink, certainly deserves it. 6 for 6 so far, and once again on these Desert Eagle buys, Kiel is making it happen. Back six is going to try and swing round, instantly get shot, but Monk trades it out. He's just going to hold the position. Gets 2. No way does he get a 3rd. Monk is insane. Tries to go for the 4th. It tags him, but not quite enough. Pinhead Larry is left in it, but on so little HP. This is absolute insanity. Back six will get the bomb down, but 12 HP in a dream. Sake and the gnome child is waiting. He's not going to stand a chance. And Kiel Krakens come out on top. Monk is an absolute monster.
And that's one of the negatives of having uber confidence showing there. Konza, he has the AWP. He shouldn't be peeking in first there. It's a deagle in front of him. Just spray into the body. They don't think they have armor, but instead, out he swings with the deagle to try and take on the other deagle that's posted on the position. Of course, he's going to lose out. And the Krakens pull a 3rd round out of nowhere, really. And now we see the timeout. Krakens letting that one marinate, pulling out the timeout. They getting an idea of what weapons they're going to buy, but I like to believe that that's just a little bit of BM. Show them exactly what they're worth.
I think this is great. This is such an intelligent decision. I mean, yeah, you can take a timeout after a loss, but like when you lose a round, but then you've got to try and motivate the team, get them back in it. You take a timeout after a win like that, like a round where you pull it back from the jaws of defeat. The team is buzzed, they're pumped up. You can go straight into what you're going to do next. You know, it's in these timeouts. Yeah, you can talk about things and, you know, you get a chance to discuss and level everyone's attitude out, but the most important is not just saying words, but putting them into action. How are we going to achieve our goal in the next round? And Kiel Krakens, just every time they look a little bit shaky, you know, someone steps up like Monk, and it's just fantastic to watch.
And we're seeing very intelligent decision coming out from the Krakens as well. They're not taking that top banana control. They took it last round, and now they're backing off. They're playing passive again. And it's going to work out for them, looking at where the back 6 are on the map. All of them looking towards A, one holding bottom banana, but that's never going to come out. And now we're going to probably see a really quick rotation out of Scarlet Chi if the attack comes in on the A site. And so it could work out very well in the Kiel Kraken's favor. A nade coming in as well, eats away at the HP, means that headshot potential with the M4 is finally there. Of course, only does 88-ish damage with the M4, so these nades actually proving very important. Nico now can be one-shot by a number of the players on the Kraken side.
that's certainly going to make a difference. They're going to have to factor that in. But likewise, Monk, with that AWP. Then again, if he misses his shot, he's donezo. He's out of the game. See this pit position being played. Connor peeks around the corner, but nothing comes off it. And Yuki, a player you highlighted, really struggling in this position. And I've seen him try and play from here before, and it hasn't really worked out. We'll see if they can, get an advantage this time. And that's a brilliant read on that Molotov, but it's just going to get punished for it. Larry steps out into the open. Gnome is trying to repeat his previous performance. Yuki is left kind of in the middle of nowhere, just sort of wondering what's happened. Aspect takes him down, and this whole round is just falling apart for the Kiel Krakens. It's all over the place. Scarlet-Chi is going to do their absolute best to try and pull it back. But back six being a little more disciplined, they know that these rounds can slip away from them, and it looks like the CTs are forced to save.
And that's a negative of that setup that I was talking about, because they didn't push for any information at any point. Yuki, really the one that should have been doing that, because no utility came out from the back six in that attack. And that's a really smart counterplay against the Kiel Krakens. There was no utility, so no players rotated. Yuki didn't switch to a more aggressive position on the site. And so it meant all they were doing was taking 1v1s as they pushed in, looking for those passive Kiel Krakens players, of course looking for the pit player first. Then they look for the player in mini pit or on site. Then they're looking for the long player. And it's just 1-by-1 battles, because they've not thrown any utility out that the Kiel Krakens aren't expecting whatsoever. And it ends up massively in back six's favor. No contest there in that round. And 6-3, it's sort of getting away from the Krakens as we move forward.
We've highlighted Monk as just an insane player who's really stepping up for his team, but where's the rest of them? You can't keep relying on individual performance to save a team of 5 individual players. It's not going to happen every single round, and so some solution needs to be found. And as you said, maybe it is just the players getting a little bit in their own head, playing a little too passively, and actually they just need to switch it up, change gear, play a little more aggressive, and try and get that motivation back, that confidence.
I mean, look at where Yuki is on the map as well. He's sitting in library at the moment. He has no control of anything whatsoever. And now as the back six push forward, they're not going to have any challenge whatsoever in mid, just spamming down Sake through the smoke. And now they're taking on Yuki. 0 kills in this game. Maybe he can get a couple here. All of them running into him. Mollied off, unfortunately, and now just going to have to slowly back away. Gnome Child can't win the fight on apartments either. And now back six have the full site. Trill taking down 1, but Scarlet-Chi with Pinhead Larry in return, and Scarlet-Chi all on his lonesome, coming up short. 4 HP, and Monk not going to be able to rotate in a timely fashion. Shouldn't be able to get anything in this round. It's going to have to be a complete throw from back six. They've got no knowledge of long, really. Monk just looking for somebody to push highway, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Back six learned from their aggression in the previous round. Don't want to lose the weapons. Just going to sit passive, sit on that site, wait for them to come to them. And instead, Kiel Krakens back off, save the weapons. Probably the smartest thing to do in that situation. Got a lot of weaponry on them, so should see a buy maybe coming out for them next round, a force for a few of the players. Oh, no.
I mean, it went for 1. I'm trying to look for positives here. I think the problem is when you have a player who is sort of, suffering and not feeling it, they're just having a bad game. If they start playing overly passive, as like you said, because Yuki wasn't applying pressure from the library, it was such a passive position, it meant Gnome was just sat there trying to take 4 terrorists coming at him, trying to do something, and you can just draw a little bit of the pressure off from your teammates just by challenging your position. Finally, we're seeing some kind of switch of Yuki playing a more aggressive position in the cubby. Usually this is one of those positions where you might get away with it once or twice throughout a game. It's not something you repeat every single time, but at least it's an adaptation we haven't seen yet. And we'll have to see if it comes out for fruition. 55 seconds left. We're almost at the halfway point in the round. Sake's going to try and peek. Oh, the timing on that. Yes! There we go. The headshot is found. Nico gets taken down and suddenly sees some reply back 6. apply with force. Yuki's going to spray through the smoke and take that back off. But then you can see Gnome Child again switching up, playing for a more aggressive position, finds an AK-47. Suddenly, Kiel Krakens have not only the advantage, but an AK-47 and an AWP to play with.
Yeah, but Monk just keeping that AWP to himself, not looking for any kills at the moment, hiding away, and probably not going to work out for him. I don't really understand what the play there is, but here's the utility, and it does actually end up working out for him. Just going to wait for a player to swing him a little bit too aggressively. Misses the shot, though, and now calling to the rest of his team, this is where the bomb is. This is what's happening now. Get over here as fast as you can. Gnome Child, the only one not towards the site, but getting in quick. No utility on either side at the moment, so it's going to be an interesting fight. Scarlet Chi gets one, Trill's head falls clean off, and Konza playing in the dark gets one, spraying down for the second, can't quite get him, but with the final bullets, actually loses his life in the end. 1 versus 1, doesn't win it out, and quick defuse coming out from Scarlet Chi, 7-4 in the end.
I mean, even in that case, yes, you know, Yuki, like, sorry to use player as the same example, but that was something really, really good. Yes, you didn't get a kill, but you draw so much pressure out. It forced the T side to have to reveal their position, which allowed the rest of your team to capitalize on it. You know, everyone has a role to play in a team, and, you know, sometimes it's not getting kills, it's just drawing pressure, drawing aggro, and getting that information. As you said, information is absolutely invaluable, and as long as it's utilized effectively, and it was in that game, in that round, sorry. So this time we're seeing an adaptation, though, from back 6, playing incredibly aggressive. Larry, Yuki is left in this awful position again. This time taking a more aggressive stance, but it's not gonna pay well. Players who are hitting shots like that. Scarlet Chi, patience on that, just to see if there's a little more information before spraying down, pushing into the smoke. I love this. So smart, but he's not able to capitalize on it. And it's a 2 versus 3. Bomb planted for back 6.
An AWP on the retake as well. Not going to be the easiest for Monk, but he's shown his capability in previous rounds. He might be able to get something from it. It's not something they've done before, though, so a little hesitant on pushing in, just looking for some aggression coming out from a short player. You might see a battle of the AWPs coming in from short. Monk going for a little bit of a hidden angle here. Not something that Konza's going to expect if he peeks back into it. Making noise on short as well, trying to bait in the peek, but Konza not going to fall for it, I say, just as he swings. And it's all too late for the CT side. Nade as well, not perfect, and Konza gets away with the AWP as well into the next round. 2 versus 2 that Scarlet Chi and Monk can't translate into a round win. Too late in the round for it, and still struggling. Kiel Krakens 8-4 in favor of back 6, and slowly the rounds are just doubling away. 6-3, 4-2, 8-4. If it continues like this, 16-8, I guess.
A real question is, you know, would we be having this sort of conversation, you know, after that round if that grenade had hit and we've seen a Doja? It was so close, not perfectly placed, but it would have been an insane moment. Scarlet Chi, though, mixing things up, playing hyper-aggressive banana. All that utility going out over the smoke and really far down towards top banana sort of indicates to me that Konza's not necessarily going to expect a player so pushed up, but this is all time for Scarlet Chi. Steps out, beautifully played with the read on the information gathered from the utility thrown overhead.
And it's left the back 6 in a situation where they don't know what to do. Scarlet Chi could be pushing down behind them. He could be in T-spawn at the moment. They really don't know. And so they're just trying to retake control of the map. Like I was saying before, information is absolutely key, and there was nothing that they could do in that. But Scarlet Chi just hiding in behind the sandbags. Not really anything that he can do at the moment. Calling in for his teammate. And now 3 players going to be pushing in the bomb as well. If he catches one, he might catch another, but Pinhead Larry has managed to catch him, sees the side of his body, and Yuki with it all to do only gets one, but that's an infinite time more than he's had before, so looking good for him, I guess. But now the bomb site falls in favor of the back 6. Monk doing his best to spray through that smoke, but nothing that he can do with that AWP at the moment. Nobody peeking in towards him. And Sake looking for these kills. In fact, all 3 players moving in towards the Flowers position. 3 players for back 6, though, not peeking into it. Sake boosting up his teammate. And now, just patience on both sides here. 2 players on top banana, 1 player hiding in grill. It's a difficult position for these guys to come up with. Monk playing a little bit of the softer angle. They don't know where any of these players are. Aspect spraying through the smoke, and this smoke might do wonders for the Kill Krakens. Bomb defuse coming in from Monk, but he unfortunately gets sprayed down through the smoke. Aspect with both kills in that round. Really nice shots there coming out from both teams. But back 6, the better of the 2. Kill Krakens, 4 rounds, 9 kills. And that's 9 rounds for the back 6.
We're back. Back 6. 9-4. You said they doubled the score round, but maybe they might even push it even further than that. Maybe triplet. In this case, Nico takes down Monk. Had a bit of a help from a Molotov.
Yeah, Nico as well lost most of his life in there. That's one bullet range for some of these P250s when they're up close. I think they can do up to 27 damage up close. So it's going to be very interesting. Aspect actually kills his own teammate there. Helped along by Yuki, but a good little assist coming out from Yuki there. And now the default play coming out from the back 6, smoking in towards Library, mollying in further, and Gnome Child with it all to do on the site. Can't get any kills though. Trill with a nice little headshot in the corner, and now once again Kiel Kraken's on the retake of the A site, and it's not going to work out for them, is it? Like I said in the pre-game, T-sided, and back 6 showing that.
I mean, what do Kiel do in this situation? They can try and play for it. I say, but they've just as soon as I say that, cast the curse, they immediately get mown down by back 6, and 10-4. Kiel need this last round. They need it to give them a position in which to sort of capitalize when they swap sides, and they can get that momentum going. They need to find that momentum from somewhere, because at the moment, you know, certain individual players are trying their hardest to provide it, but the team needs to come as one whole. Back 6, on the other hand, it's got momentum in spades, even with a utility usage. That grenade tagged out Scarlet just a little bit, but you can see the counter utility as well, the flashes coming out. Back 6 just taking each angle, as you said, one at a time. Blows them apart. Monk not able to get a word in edgeways, and Kiel might be shut out of this round already.
Yeah, I mean, once again, very, very passive with the hold, and once again, given up long control. I don't think they've really taken the time to realize that the setup's not working. They've done the same thing round after round after round, and it ends up, you know, falling out of their favor every single time. We're seeing rotations away from B, and then, you know, the back 6, they just smoke away on Arch, and they smoke off Library, and then Kiel Krakens can't get anything done. Trading 1-for-1 on long there, and going B. 4 players all towards B. Kiel Krakens have no idea, and this should be all she wrote in this round. Unless they can pull out an incredible retake, shouldn't be doable for the Krakens.
They are approaching. They have 3 players. They're doing a 2-1 split. Gnome Child is going to push up Banana and try and see a little bit of the action. Greeted by Trill, but comes out on top and equalizes it. Sake, unfortunate timing. Nico executes him, and back round over to back 6, but Yuki steps up, winning that gunfight. Gnome Child as well. We said it'd be difficult. It's all up to a 1 versus 1. No! Aspect comes out on top, and now be back 6, essentially winning the half, 11-4. You can see a scoreboard there, and you can kind of see the disparity in fragging ability across the board for the Kiel Krakens, kind of struggling a bit to get on the same page. But back 6, phenomenal half on their T side.
Yeah, very well played from the back 6. They've demolished the Krakens, and unless they can pull out something very different on their T side, it's going to be, a complete wipeout for this team. It's going to be very difficult as well early on for these players, and of course, the Krakens, not the biggest contenders in this competition, and they're really proving that through this game. If it continues in this way, they have to prove that they deserve this spot, and this game really is not an indicator of that whatsoever at the moment.
Absolutely not. But for Kiel, it's just thinking, all right, how can we get back into this? Take it 1 round at a time. And Trill, in a position that Gnome played previously, Monk is sort of trying to edge him out, seeing if he'll play over aggressive and capitalize. Sake takes down Nico instantly. And Drill replies in kind. Gnome is trying to push on as fast as possible. Larry in the pit position. Trill in tandem as well. Trill is being an absolute monster. 3 kills so far in this round. Gonzo is going to back him up, and Sake is left in a 1-on-3. Takes down Trill the monster. Gonzo replies. Back 6. Win that piss around fairly convincingly.
Well, not looking great for the Krakens. This is a round that they're probably tempted to force into, and as I say that, they do force into it. Not really got the money to do so, and it is going to be a struggle, especially against the utility of the back 6, but they're trying for it and losing a little bit of health early onto that nade, and unless they can pull out some tactical masterpiece, it might be a bit of a struggle.
And you can see the difference when you don't get the bomb down on T side. Even if you lose the round, you're not really able to force that, full armor SMG sort of rush play or full armor rifles that we saw back 6 do. You don't have that option. You don't have the money for it. So you're left with this kind of lopsided buy. We've got a Tech 9, a CZ, a Desert Eagle. It's all over the place. I'll be interested to see if they can make it work. Nico does have the luxury of utility. That Keel is lacking somewhat, but they've managed to hold on to some key pieces quite late into the round. You can see a Molotov, 2 smokes, and a flash still available, so there's certainly enough for an execute. And it really comes down to how they can set this up. The time that they spent to get the top banana control, really nice. Here we see the smoke come out. Aspect's going to step forward as it blooms. Yuki's going to be the one marching their way onto the site. Nico's left a bit wondering what to shoot at. Kill actually seize the initiative. Push on through, get onto the bomb, get it planted. 3-on-4 retake, and back 6, not much utility. 2 Molotovs that they can use. We'll see. Newbox is going to get pushed out of that position. UMP, or the MP9, sorry, isn't going to be great enough range, and the CT is just absolutely decimate. It's all up to Monk, though, with his FAMAS. A great weapon to be situated. Switches to the Tech 9, and Monk clutches it out again for Kiel Krakens. Absolutely wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, 1 second, that's all in favor of back 6. Kiel Krakens. The next second, back 6 have just annihilated half the players, and then Monk clutches it out of nowhere. Really well played from the Krakens not to peek into that top banana when they hear the noise. They see the people, walking in, and they just wait. They just let them walk past, and it ends up with a player rotating away. Smart play coming out from these players. And the Krakens showing that they do have the technical know-how to potentially come back in this game.
And taking that timeout again on the back of a clutch. It's important to keep that momentum, that motivation going. But last time they took a timeout, they had this pause, and we complimented them on how it's good timing, good use of the timeouts. They're so underused in CS teams, in competitive Counter-Strike. Even up to the pro level, I feel like they're underused. But last time they took a timeout, they lost the following round. So we'll see if it's scripted. What we've already seen is what we're going to get. Is Gnome going to be able to step out into the open and switch things up? Trill, just Desert Eagle shots, just making a little silhouette round the player. Gonzo replies, so it's 1-for-1. The back 6 and Kiel Krakens trading blow for blow, but still with the weaponry, Kiel Krakens firmly in favor.
Yeah, the Krakens have the site as well. 2 versus 2 coming into this, and that really... 2 versus 4 coming into this, and it favors Kiel Krakens. I say that as Monk loses his head, pushing up long, and that's the best player for these teams. Trill, unfortunately, can't get it done in the corner, and Sake got a clear site to plant on. 1 player in the library, just backing away now, looking to see if a player pushes too aggressively in the arch position, but waiting for those 2 players pushing up mid is Scarlet Chi, and they should check this angle. They might realize there's a player in here, but they line up for Scarlet Chi. 2 nice kills there on the boiler position, and now Konza takes that as a guide to run away. Only 7 HP on him, and no chance that he's going to win this round unless all players line up in front of him and wait for him to headshot them.
I mean, the double peek in principle makes perfect sense, but you've got to space out. You can't just sit one behind the other. You know, that's just a free spray straight down, and you're both dead. The heads are hit, and there's nothing left. Oh, Chi takes down Konza, I think, right at the end of the round, padding those stats. And Kill almost looked like a different side. Something has breathing life into this team, and you know, we said we may see a 16-8 back six just easily doubling their rounds, but Kill is not, they're not at all back in this, but they certainly have a foothold, and it'll be interesting to see this. These are the kind of rounds where it matters. Is in theory you should never lose to a full eco. It just shouldn't happen. But time and time again, we see teams lose to rounds like this. And so even if one AK gets taken over and saved by back six, that could be horrible. We've seen how strong they are on their T side. You do not want to give them this weaponry. So Kiel need to play it smart, need to play it safe. You know, this round is like a bonus round. It's for them, but they do not want to lose anyone. And you can see Sage sort of scouting things out, going, maybe there's a stack on B. I'm not too sure. He's going to try and back up and then push in with his team. And Monk, he's going to be the first man through the door. Ooh, maybe not.
Also with a sneaky little spot as well that they might not be ready for, but actually looks like they're just trying to sell a fake at the moment. Nothing coming out for them early on and running in towards the A site, in fact. Not going to work out for them maybe, but actually Yuki with one and Trill gets Scarlet Chi on the site. Gnome Child as well, gonna get the player, Yuki rather, getting the player running through the smoke, and Sake with the 2 kills in mid as well. Lines up once again for them. Kiel Kraken's just getting back 6 players that are 2 in a row every single time. None of them paying attention to one by one. They're instead lining up right in front of each other, and the players getting 2 kills at a time.
Yeah, the positioning has just been kind of poor. You know, you're not on T side. You don't have this one-shot weaponry. You know, you've got to stick to your fundamentals of spacing and positioning. You know? You can't get away with it. Kiel Krakens have shown that you make mistakes and they're going to capitalize. And Scarlet Chain's making no exception, doing exactly what back six did to them. Gnome Child as well, running in. Got to compliment Yuki, having fantastic half so far. Looks like someone else has taken the control of the computer. The team has just woken up and, you know, they've arisen. And back six, maybe not respecting Kiel enough. You can see the instant save coming out. Not even going to try, go for any exits and what have you. And I would like to see Sake or some of the Ts start hunting. They've got a solid economy, solid foundation. You know the CT's economy is just, it's in a dumpster, and that dumpster's on fire at the moment. So just press the advantage, push them, and you can see they're circling around the B site, pushing their way in, and it's whether these few last seconds they manage to find anything, but no, it's the CTs who come out on top. 3 go down, and it's fine. They've still got the money to survive. No AKs were brought up, picked up. But this time, back six will have a timeout.
And that's a worry when you've swapped sides as well, is that you might end up thinking, oh, you know, we're 11-4 up, we're 12-4 up, we've got the advantage here. But when a team starts counterplaying you and you don't know how to get through it, you're going to really struggle going into it. Back six, they have no idea how Kiel Krakens play on this side of the map. You could very clearly see that they are struggling tactically against this team. And if Kraken start pulling the rounds together, round after round after round, it starts to weigh in the back of the mind, especially with the position of Kiel Krakens coming into this game. And it's the sort of things that players that aren't mentally prepared for this sort of tournament, it's really going to show, especially against one of the weaker teams on paper in the competition.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone loves an underdog, but what we love more is an underdog story, an underdog comeback. And Kiel Kraken certainly laying the foundations to at least allow the possibility, the potential of that happening in this game. Back six by no means are out yet. You can see that they're saving their economy. They've got a little bit of a buffer, so they should be able to buy next round. Some Desert Eagles are coming out. Konza is left with nothing. And what I'd like to see is Aspect. He's number 9 on the mini map. You can see him on site. I want to see. I would have liked to see him play with the players with the pistols and use the utility you have to try and enable the pistol players to play aggressively and, take an advantage away from the T side, maybe get an AK-47 or something with some early aggressive play. Instead, they're going to be left on the B site. And you can see the bomb is being brought up. So Keel leaning towards the B execute, which in theory should be the weaker side, despite the man advantage. They are taking their sweet time. 40 seconds left, and not even all 5 players are in Banana yet.
I mean, they're making noise as well on Banana. They're walking around. They're making a little bit of noise. They've not been completely silent. The only thing they've not done is throw Molotovs. It's probably kind of an indicator already of exactly what's going on, and you can see the players on the back 6 moving away, pushing in towards this site now, and one losing their life on Trill, but Pinhead Larry swapping around. Konza loses his life as well, and Larry now just looking towards the flowers, waiting for a player to come too aggressive. I don't think they're looking for the round at this point, back 6. They're just looking for the weapons. See if they can pull them out of the hands of the Kiel Krakens. Get rid of those AKs. Make it a little bit more difficult for them as they progress further and further into the game.
More importantly is how are the T's going to play this sort of post-plant positions, playing very passive, waiting for the CTs to come into them, into the waiting arms, and Aspect suddenly has lost his teammates. Yuki steps out, and that's what we wanted to see last half. You're a little late to the party, Yuki, but you're welcome to be here. Fantastic stuff. And Kiel Krakens, they look like they're almost in closing distance. 3 rounds deficit, but back 6 just look a little bit lost.
They absolutely look lost as well, and they've made a really big buy coming into this round. Konza didn't really care that they died last round. They've still got the AUE coming out from this one, and lots of utility as well, throwing those Astralis mollies that I talked about before. A little bit delayed in the play that they've done them, but it has successfully forced the Kiel Krakens away, just waiting on bottom Banana and slowly backing away the back 6. They don't want to be tagged by any nades that might come out from the Krakens when that smoke rather at the top of Banana disappears.
Now, with the time ticking down, again, I mean, this is classic Inferno. Half the round goes and nothing really happens. It's just an attrition war, a war of attrition with utility. Gnome Child could go for the spray through the wall here. Sort of like sensing that there's probably a player playing the balcony position, and they would be right. Instead, waiting for their team to get into position. Here's utility coming out. Trill, defensive smoke and balcony. Waiting for that flash, and the CT's going to decimate early on. Trill, Konza, and Larry coming up huge. And Kiel, this is the first time that they've looked a little bit sort of like lost and rudderless, for lack of a better word, on their T side. They have managed to get onto site, but this is where the CT expertise should come in. They should play around each other, and Aspect just walks straight in. Gets the kill, knows that his teammate can trade off, and Trill.
I'd like to see a save from Monk now. He has 4 HP, there's not much time on the clock, and the team could buy around him. Instead, gives his life away and gains that little bit of money, the 1,800 or whatever they make for that. But, I mean, it's not really worth dying for in that round. They've instead... I mean, all he's done is throw his life away. There's absolutely no money to be made from that. The weaponry, the armor that he had was worth far more than the money that he's made from dying there. So a little bit dodgy from the Krakens. I mean, not something that people think about all the time. And Monk actually smoking himself off on top Banana, trying to incentivize that peak over the smoke and looking for it early on. And Krakens with a little bit more aggression coming out from them in apartments as well.
Most important thing, though, about him dying is, yes, he got the cash, so, he could afford the orb, but on the other hand, you've got no armor now, so he's going to die fast to those M4s. He's not going to be defending properly, and back 6 might just be able to take him out. His orbing hasn't been amazing in comparison to his rifle play, so be interesting to see if maybe it's just T-side, he feels more comfortable with the weapon. He can make it happen. And there we go. The trade out, 1-for-1 on utility. And here maybe this is how they want to utilize this orb. They want to try and use it for aggressive CT peaks, but back six is not going to give Keel Krakens anything. Holding fairly passive positions. This A site hold on the mini map is so, towards pit, towards short, and leaving long almost open for the pickings. But of course, if they don't have the information, Keel have no idea, and they're trying to get the CTs to peek out, trying to use as little bits of utility just to try and draw them out into the open so they can try and get the man advantage, but it's not going to be the case. 20 seconds are left, and you can see Keel just scrambling, going, okay, we've got 15 seconds, let's push onto the site, throw everything you've got, ladies and gentlemen. Pinhead Larry is going to have none of it, though. Gnome Child replies immediately. Trill is back in the boosted box. He's going to deny the bomb plant, and actually the round, whatever happens, he tries to get one more for his trouble. Konza picks up 2 for his money. Scarlet Chi is left on site and really just wants to survive. There we go. And actually starting to top the leaderboard for the Kill Krakens. 20 kills. And that AWP certainly not paying dividends to the Kill Krakens.
Yeah, Monk. I mean, it's an example of that sort of butterfly effect coming out for the rounds there. Monk didn't save in the round before last, then bought an AWP with no armor in the next one, and then because the money was nothing, has no armor to buy anything. Has no money to buy any weapons this round, and had to be dropped by the teammate, and that's going to affect the next round. But a quick play coming out from the Keel Krakens, low on HP, but they've got the sight at least.
Bomb is down, but man advantage over to back six. It's 2 and 3. Yes, the AWP's in play for the retake, but there's such low HP, but this could be huge. Sarkate coming up massive. It's not going to be enough to take down the AWP player. Larry's just going to swing on in. 3 kills this round. You can see railing bullets into the dead T-side player. Back six is going to defuse the bomb. You can see that frustration from not being able to pick off those rounds and losing so much. And now push back six onto map point.
And back six very much on the front foot coming into this. Scarlet Chi, no money. Yuki very low on money, no armor in fact, just running on a glass cannon AK. And for a player that's 7 and 21, I don't want to doubt Yuki's ability, but it's a very risky play to come out with something like that. Realistically, you want a player like that to be running on the deagle, maybe being a little bit of an incentive, but a fast play coming out from the Keel Krakens, looking to run onto Banana early on. An Aspect just going to smoke it off. Can't get much done though. Actually managed to get a headshot through his own smoke there. And Nico holding for the push onto the site. 2 versus 5, and hardly any of the rounds been played. We're only 20 seconds in.
Only 20 seconds in, but Aspect picks up another one, and Monk, this is it. I cannot see them coming back in this one. Back six takes the round, winning out from Keel Krakens 16-9. Fantastic stuff there. Keel certainly fighting and showing what they have within their team, what potential there is, but just not enough. Back six, as soon as they figured them out, got a read on what was going on, back six just firmly and calmly took control of the situation and won out.
Yeah, I mean, back six just looked strong in that game. Keel Krakens a little bit weak in parts, but back six just the better of the two sides, and I really think that they have a chance of going to top 8. Of course, top 8 meaning that they will be pushing into the varsity playoffs in the future after that week 5. So yeah, really strong team, a team to look out for, especially for the Sea Stags.
And our next game this evening will be Swansea Storm White versus BU.5 Men. We'll have to see if it lives up to that game. It looked very one-sided at first. Keel obviously put on a show for us. But this game is, is a little bit less of the what we saw beforehand of this underdog coming in. Swansea Storm White. Swansea been around for eons, and of course BU.5 Men as well, team with a legacy inside Newell Counter-Strike as well. So it should be very interesting. Well done, though, to back six for coming out on top. Very, very well played. As you said, a team that, wouldn't be surprised if we saw them push top 8. There are some things that need to come into play, and they do need to work on. But this is a perfect example of, it's fine to make mistakes as long as we learn from them. What can we do more in the next game? And, so very nicely done. Commiserations to Keel Krakens, but again, like I said, same advice for backs that I gave to back six. Keel Krakens, plenty to go through, plenty to learn from, and I expect them to throughout this season to grow, and hopefully we'll see stronger and stronger performances going through this season.
Yeah, very, very strong play that came out from them in certain rounds, and then other rounds just let them down. Especially on that CT side, they didn't have the adaptive nature maybe that they should have had. Especially Yuki was struggling, and they did nothing to help that player, help them, move to a different side of the map or come up with something different. They had no plan B, and that's something that a lot of the top teams in this tournament will have. They'll have a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. And Kiel Kraken's just resting on their laurels a little bit, and it's not really worked out for them.
And speaking of plans, we're going to have to stick to our schedule. We're going to throw to a break and we'll be back with you shortly. So don't go anywhere for Swansea Storm White versus BU and a half men. See you soon.